All right, guys. So doing a demonstration today on a haircut, and last week I was showing you a quick technique on how I approach a haircut using my 90-degree method and how I'm able to execute the haircut quick, efficient. That Isaiah already had a haircut that was pretty much done and just needed cleaned and shaped. And that would be like an everyday cut that goes on. You guys do a lot of mannequin work, and I do want to get into some of these demonstrations. And in some of the demonstrations, I'm going to be pulling you guys on the stage to attempt to do some of the stuff I'm doing. Nick's like, wait a minute, no. I got you, Nick. I've been doing this for a long time, so you're good. But just like you saw yesterday where Charlene had a demonstration, she had pre-scheduled that for a while. We definitely want you guys to be involved in the stage process and the educational process. The idea of this stage is not just to record and create content, but to be able to give you guys an experience, more hands-on, one-on-one, and see the progression for you guys as you're going through. What I'm going to do today, he wants a mid-skin fade. I am going to do two different techniques to achieve the same exact look. The first one, I'm going to do it step by step so you guys can get an idea on how to visually approach the haircut. I'm going to take the same exact concept on the other side using the method that I use most of the time, if not 99% of the time, and achieve the same look. And you shouldn't be able to see the difference between each side. The other thing we're going to do is that the top of this hair needs a little bit of texture, needs a little bit of work. He's been letting it grow. He likes this the way to lay it a certain way. He's got some chemical in his hair, so his ends are pretty dry. Not only that, he's got a lot of frizziness, and so he's having some challenges, whether he knows it or not, in how getting his hair to lay the way he wants. So we're going to do a little bit of interior cutting today as well. I'll find out what the issues are with his hair once we get to that part. But primarily I want to focus on how I approach a haircut and the steps that I take. Before I get started, does anyone have any questions about maybe what they do when they see this, maybe some concerns or how to approach his haircut? What are some steps to take? What are your thoughts? Anyone, doesn't matter. Yeah. Say it again. I'm going to do some shear work on the top, yes. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
You know how you just said like his hair was all frizzy and stuff? How do you like ask them to
So if someone's hair is frizzy, how do I ask?
like to do something about it?
Okay, so well, I'll tell you exactly what happened with Nick when he was sitting there. I said, what do you want done to the top? And he said, I want to leave the top alone. But I know that it needs work. So you can encourage it. A lot of times when people say leave it alone, it's because they don't want you to cut it down. Here's another one. The demographic of your client is going to determine how they ask for a haircut as well. So an older guy will tell you to cut with shears and he doesn't want his hair buzzed. What you have to think of, that time frame that they were growing up, a buzz cut was a military cut. That was a short, really tight. So when you turn the clippers on, immediately they're thinking, oh, I'm going to get my hair chopped off. You can achieve the same exact look with clippers or shears. They don't necessarily know that. So if they've been going to a barber for the last 40 years and their barber has been cutting them with shears and just doing a little bit of trim, that's what they're accustomed to. They're not used to the barber pulling the clippers out and hacking their hair down. So that's the fear that they have when they say, I don't want my hair buzzed. Don't use the clipper. Just use shears. You can still achieve the same look over time. If it was my first time cutting them, I'm probably going to try as best as I can to cut them with shears because that's what he would want. And then I would slowly introduce the clippers around the nape, right? Just around the ear a little bit. Once he sees that I can achieve the result that he wants, the next time he comes in, he's going to trust me a little bit more. And slowly but surely, I will slowly begin to incorporate whatever is going to be more efficient for me while still giving him the same look. Does that make sense? I may want to go straight to the clippers right away, But if he doesn't want that, there's a way to do that and get your client to trust you. That guy's been going somewhere for 40 years. He's never sat in your chair before. He's not sure what your skill set is and if you can even achieve the look. You got to create that trust bond with the client. So great question. I did ask him, you know, what we want to do. He said, don't cut any off the top. And I'm like, it needs a little bit of work. And he goes, okay. And I said, show me a picture of how you like it. The picture he showed me, the hair was much shorter.
Could you actually go through this process? Because I know personally I need work on my client concentration
Okay.
skills.
Absolutely.
Like how
So
to approach asking them.
absolutely. So you want me to go through that right now?
I would like it.
Okay, absolutely. So this is my first time cutting his hair for real. Like I've never cut your hair, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All right, so what are we doing today?
A mid skin fade, and then trim.
So here start over real quick. You're not a barber.
Okay.
You have no idea barber terminology,
Yeah,
okay?
There are some people
Because clients come in, for the most part, they don't understand barber terminology. So don't speak to me like your instructor. I'm a barber that you're about to pay $75 for a haircut,
Okay.
okay? What are we doing today?
I would like a fade,
Okay,
about halfway up my head,
okay,
and then trim the ends.
okay. So when you say ends, what is the overall look that you're trying to achieve?
My hair kind of just poofs right here.
Okay.
So
Do you like when it lifts, or how would you like that to lay in the front?
I like pushing it over,
Okay,
but not like it just sticks straight up.
okay. So I'll take a look at that. Do you use any product on a regular basis?
No,
Okay. Are you opposed to using product?
I don't mind.
Okay. All right, cool. So a little bit of light product might help in just getting some more control with that. But what we'll do is we'll cut it first. All right. I'll trim a little bit, and if you need me to go just a little bit shorter, then you let me know. Anything else you want to tell me about your hair?
It is colored.
It's colored. Okay.
Yeah. It's been a while.
I can see that. Okay.
It's been a while since it was actually colored.
Okay.
So and it's been through multiple lightning processes.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, your hair doesn't feel too damaged, right? It doesn't feel too damaged, but I'm sure once I get some of the trim and get some of those little dry ends off, we can probably really get that to have a little bit more control. Okay. Yes.
So I know you made that face just now, but if that was in a real life situation, like, do you not?
I'm not gonna make the face. That's for y'all.
But I mean, like you wouldn't actually tell, like, your client, like, you got damaged hair.
Oh no. Here's what. Did you see what I did? Great question. What I did was I felt the hair on the inside. I felt the hair on the inside. I can see what's going on the outside. The ends is jacked because it had multiple chemical services. What I don't want to do is make the client feel like his hair is jacked. That's what I don't want to do. So I'm going to feel it and I'm going to say, okay, yeah. Are you recording? Of course. Good. I heard an oh shoot back there, so I'm like, he didn't get none of this. So no, immediately I'm grabbing the hair to feel it, okay? I can feel that his hair feels good, but when I get to the ends, I know it's dry. I'm gonna trim some of this off, so guess what's gonna happen? Those dead ends are gonna be in. I just told him it's gonna feel better by the time I'm done. So right now, he's like, it's a little dry, I can tell. Once I cut it, he's gonna be like, yeah, this is exactly what I want. I just convinced him that it's gonna take place. So great question, yes, sir.
So where the hair starts to like die out or not receive
It's called, you talk about at the ends?
yeah.
It's called trichoptilosis. Split ends.
When it has split hair,
His split ends have split ends.
yeah.
Okay.
Split ends, right?
Uh-huh.
You don't cut it in half. You actually cut where it begins to.
Well, before I do that, I want to check. I got to make sure I can get the hair in the position. I want to go through his hair, see if I can, if it needs. I don't know who cut his hair. I've never seen it. Every haircut is a tailored experience, just so you understand. If I take a guard and I just go ahead and whack his head down, that's not a tailored experience. I'm just taking a guard and I'm following the contours and shapes of his head, and then I'm gonna go ahead and fade it. That is not a tailored experience. Every haircut from a professional is a tailored experience. You should be able to cut this hair that it suits him the best. So there's a variety of things I'm gonna do. I won't know until I comb through it and check it, but I'll explain that as I go through. But excellent question. Keep me in mind when we get there. Okay? Anybody else before we get started? No? All right. So the first thing I'm doing, and this is something that you got to do. Did you notice when I was talking to him, I wasn't, what you getting done today?
Yeah, I noticed.
You notice that? So it's important, especially for the very first consultation. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. He's concerned. He might be a little apprehension. Might be there just because he might jack me up. He might look at me and say, he probably don't cut white people hair. This is what happens, just so you know. Okay? And vice versa. Might look at you and be like, he don't cut black people hair. It's what happens. It's a reality. We've been open 19 years in my location. My shop's very diverse. And there are times, I shared the story, Jenny's been there 18 years. A lady comes in with her son. Jenny goes, hello, how are you doing? Can I help you today? You're getting a haircut. She goes, what are you looking for? Or what can I help you with? She says, I'm looking for a man. Right off the bat. And Jenny said, okay, well, one of these men will be right with you. Just sign in and somebody be right with you. No offense taken. What happened was the lady sat there and observed her knock 3-4 haircuts out while she was waiting. Her son got a great haircut. She then came over and apologized and said, you do great work. It happens. So there's always going to be some sort of apprehension, especially if it's the very first time somebody cuts your hair. Your job is to make them feel very comfortable. If you notice when I responded to him, I wasn't very technical. I wasn't like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some shear cutting, some point cutting here. I'm also going to, I don't need to do all. He doesn't speak my language. When you go see the doctor doesn't, they'll use one big medical term, right? Well, what you're dealing with right now is a case of boom. And then they'll say, it's simply boom, 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 boom. Common cold, da, da, da. You're like, oh, you scared me for a second. Their first reaction is what they understand it to be. Their second reaction is to tell you what it is in layman's term for you to understand. I don't need to be very technical with my guests in the chair. They don't need to know I'm an expert in that area. What they want to see is the result. So the next thing that you want to do is repeat. Now, I did a whole lot of talking. And I'm going to repeat to what he said he wanted. So you want to fade up the side, not too high. You want a little bit off the top trim because you had some chemical done to your hair, but it's poofy in the front. You do wear it to the side. You don't normally wear product, but you're not opposed to using some light product in your hair. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Mm-hmm. What did I just do?
You just confirmed what he said.
I confirmed everything he said. And in his mind, we're on the same page. If there's ever any doubt in your mind of what that person wants, the very next thing I would ask somebody is, do you have a photo of what you would like done? Most people in today's world, they got social media, they have a Facebook picture, they got a driver's license or something, a wedding that they went to and be like, you know what? I was at my buddy's wedding. Let me go to his Facebook, pull it up. Yeah, here's what I want. That is probably one of the best ways that you can find out what your guest actually wants. What you're doing when you say, let me see a photo, you're simply saying, I want to see what you want done, and now that I can see it, I got to now attempt to do it. It's why when you guys are taking an evaluation, we have a 450 mannequin sitting there, so you can look at that mannequin, and look at your mannequin and try to duplicate what you see. Does that make sense? Because visualization is key in order to achieve what you want. You have to see the haircut before it's done. Now that we went through this process, what I'm doing, what's that?
That's the first time I was aware that there was a 450.
Because you're focused on your test and you don't want to see nothing else. It's sitting right there so you guys can visualize it. So what I'm doing when I'm combing through the hair is a few things. He may have forgotten to tell me that he has a mole or he has a scar or maybe an abrasion in his head. He may forget to tell me that, right? I don't know that. But as I'm combing his head, what do you think might happen? I might bump over that mole. I might hit that skin tag or that little piece of skin sticking up, right? I might hit his, I hit my head the other day at work. Got a little bump there. Be careful. He's gonna be able to tell me that in the moment. So I'm examining his scalp. I already examined his hair. I felt it. I looked at it. I can kind of tell what's going on with his hair. The next thing I'm doing is I'm going and just kind of looking at either his hair pattern right? And I'm looking at a couple things that's going on with his head. Let's look at it together. So the first thing I see is he's got all this weight right under here. Do you guys see that? So whoever faded him last time, they went all the way up here and they left this alone. He's got way too much weight in here. I actually like this weight. However, this weight isn't transitioning into the fade good enough. So I'm going to have to blend this in. That's something I'm going to have to do, but I'm not going to take his fade high because I don't want to cut too much off the top, and he wants a medium fade, right? He wants his fade up, but not too high. This was already, for me, too high. So I'm already identifying that. When I look at this, I notice he has a huge weight line on this side. However, he said he wears his hair to this side. So when I'm combing it over to the side, I notice he no longer has that weight. All this hair gets pushed forward, but he's got a little bit of weight right there. Do you guys see that? Those are the things that I look at. So a couple things that I would normally do is I'd probably try and blend that in first into what he has, but I'm not going to do that for you guys today. I'll do 2 different steps and then I'll blend it into what he has. I'm not going to do that first because I don't want to confuse anybody. Let me start with some steps first. So I don't recommend going in, as I said before, and going and putting a mark like this as you're going in with your fade. What I do recommend is you can close your clipper if you're going to create a guideline. And do you want the fade to drop? Okay, so you want it straight across? Okay.
Now, how about if that guy in the chair has no idea what you mean by you want it to drop?
Then I would say, do you want your fade to come straight across or do you want it to go down just a little bit? That's all. Make it simple. Make it simple. So I'm going to go straight across. Now, there is a slight drop, okay, and I'm explaining to you why, but he doesn't think so. He doesn't know it. So it appears that it's straight across, but it does have a slight drop. And the reason why I did put a slight drop in there, I didn't drop it down. I don't think that's bad for him. He's a barber. He's learning it. So I don't think this is bad for him. What he didn't want was this.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that's barber language. But this is still going to be a straight across fade. All right? So there is my first guide for this haircut. It is not perfect. It's not 100% straight, and I'm okay with that. But when I get to this line up top, I just kind of pull away, okay? I don't make it really, really hard and just go and stop and go and stop. I just kind of get right to it and just slowly carve that out. Do you see that? The reason that I do that is so that that line won't be harder to remove. The next thing that I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to put a 1 on, and I'm going to close this one, and I'm going to create another guideline that's going to be about pinky width, my pinky width, straight back. Once I get past this part of transition, and when I say past this part of transition, does anyone know what part I'm talking about? I mentioned it last week. Well, I'm on the parietal ridge now. I'm on his right parietal. But there's an area in which the head begins to transition. The parietal ridge transitions from here, away from the comb, yes. There's another part where the head transitions. Yes. You remember from last week, Mark? What is it? You don't remember? You just scratch your head. Well, the occipital is in the back. So I'm using the point of reference from the apex, and as I come down the side of his head, here's where his head starts to round off to the back. Remember the umbrella up top? All of this is flat. But if I put this flat against his head, do you see where the comb is now turning away from his head? Look on the screen. Do you see where it's turning away from his head? That's a point of transition in the head being rounded off. It's no longer flat anymore. It's flat on the side, but it's rounded off. It's falling away from the comb. His head the comb is attached to his head from here to here, but right at this point, it starts to round off. It's no longer attached to his head, or else he'd have a square head. If this was his head, when I put the comb up against it, it'd be straight across. But this is not his head. He doesn't have a box head, right? And the comb is not flat across. If I place this comb on the side of his head, right here is where his head begins to turn away. It's another point of transition. So I'm going to do pinky length all the way into the point of transition, and then it's probably going to be more of like a finger length as I work my way back. It's just going to be a little bit wider than it is in the front. There's 2 reasons that I do that. Naturally, even though I went evenly across, I used the same guard, evenly across. Tell me what you notice happening with his hair. It's getting darker in the back. That means he has more density from here to here than he does here. Could be for a variety of reasons. So because his head is rounding and pushing, if you look close enough, this hair is going this way. Okay? Do you kind of see it from there? Okay. His hair is going this way, which is pushing this way, is causing shadows, and he has more hair back here, so his hair is more dense. So I'm going to take this guide a little bit thicker than I am in the front, intentionally, which when I begin to fade this is going to be a straight across fade. I need a little bit more room to play with because he has a lot more hair and it's darker. Over here, I'm going to hit this and this and this, and it's going to pop right off. I'm going to have to work a little bit harder in this area. Y'all follow me? Okay. So now that I have this guide set up, is that even? Is it completely straight or does it look kind of crooked? It's not perfect. I didn't go in and carve this out and make it, it doesn't have to be. His head's not perfect. It's round. He's got bumps when he smiles. This happens when he's angry. Everybody's got it. Okay? Everybody's got it. So it doesn't have to be completely perfect, but it has to be symmetrical. I got to see the parallel lines and I got to be able to work through that. All right? So if I did this with my clipper closed and I did this with a 1, how do I transition? Would you guys like to see me cut from the bottom up or from the top down to this line? From the bottom up, because that's what you're used to seeing. You done seen it on YouTube 1,000 times. Okay. So what I'm going to do, since you guys want to see the bottom up, I'm going to go ahead with my 1/16, which is lower than my number 1. It's my half guard. I'm going to start with it open, and I'm going to work on this bottom line. Notice I'm not going close to the top line. I'm only working on that bottom line. It's slowly going to get lighter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close it. I'm close it 100% of the way, and I'm going to use my stack and tilt method. Notice I'm not using the corner of my clipper. I'm using the entire clipper blade to cover this space. Not much is being cut, so now I'm going to slowly drop my angle. I'm just working on the bottom line. I'm not even getting close to this line at all. Okay? Now I'm going to flatten this out. You can hear a little bit of the hair, right, Nick? Right, a little bit of the hair is moving, but it doesn't look like I'm doing a lot. It is slowly getting lighter and lighter. Okay? Here's the part where most people are scared because they start taking the fade up. Because they're taking the blade off and now they're intimidated. If I cut this, I'm going to take this fade too high. I'm going to hold this at a 90. I'm working my way across his hair. I don't hear anything. Do you hear anything, Nick? Which means it's not cutting. Once I drop this angle, do you hear it? I'm cutting a little bit more. Notice I'm not going nowhere near that line. But in order to remove a line, you have to cut above that line. What I mean by that is I put the line in with this closed. So it's open, meaning I'm cutting right above it to remove the weight that's slightly above that line, nowhere near this top line. Very small, intricate movements. The other thing I'm not doing, and I see a lot of students do this, is they grab the person's head and they do this, right? Look what's happening, right? Oh, I got to get that line out. So they start doing this. What you're actually doing when you do that is you're putting the heat from your hand and the heat from your client's head creates moisture because they start getting hot and sweat. What happens to the hair with water and heat?
Water and heat.
When you add heat or water, say that again, it breaks the hydrogen bonds. So if I start pushing on his head, guess what's going to happen to that hair? Anybody? It's going to make it soft and it's going to create what? An indentation. This will be sticking up and right there it's going to be smashed. If this is smashed and this is sticking up, I'm going to have a different reaction when I cut over it. So I'm not grabbing his hair and lifting it up and stretching the skin to do that. I'm simply using my tool, pulling his ear out the way, and working my way through this. I'm staying very, very low, right at that bottom line. Now, did it go away? No, but is it lighter? Okay, so with this particular clipper, and many of you have clippers that have it, just go one notch down and do the same thing. Do you hear the cut, Nick? Okay, I'm working my way through this. I'm slowly going back and forth, focusing on the dark spots more than anything. The line hasn't gone away, but did it get lighter? I'm going to do the same thing. One more notch. Very small movements. Working my way up. When I come up here, I'm going to avoid the light spots. Because what I don't want to do is make that light spot lighter. Remember, when I did it evenly across, some of it was lighter, some of it was darker, and I had a couple dark spots. So what I do is I avoid those light spots. I'm still not using my corners. I'm using the clipper itself. Avoiding some of these light spots. Turn him here so you guys can see. Tilt his head like this so I can see. Slowly working this bottom spot. I'm gonna go down one more notch. Again, working on this bottom line, tapping right at the bottom of this line. The other thing I'm doing is, if you notice my left hand, what am I doing with my left hand? I'm doing two things. If I am pulling down the skin, I can, but I'm just maintaining contact with him. If he's got a sneeze, a hiccup, a movement, you feel all that and I can back off. Exactly. I'm always in contact with my client all the time. Whether I'm holding it like this, and if I'm on top, it's just fingertips. It's not a grip. It's just, it's not even my hand. The weight of my hand alone puts pressure on his neck. His shoulders and his neck is used to holding his head up, not his head and my hand. Okay? So this will be very uncomfortable after a while. As a matter of fact, he probably can start to feel the tension right now in the shoulders. Yes, no, maybe so. So I only use my fingertips, and it's just to manipulate the head and to let them know that I need them to stay still. It's a psychological thing. So I'm down to one more notch. Turn down for me. Pull his skin a little tight. I'm going to go ahead. Do you hear the haircut? As I'm going through, I'm really focusing on the dark spots. I'm using just a little bit of my corners, but not an exaggerated corner. All I'm doing is lightly tilting it in a slight angle, just so I can hit those little tiny dark spots.
Quick question.
Yes.
Why are you doing it? Why aren't you combing down the hair and focusing face?
Okay, it's a great question. So I do comb the hair while I'm cutting, but what's more important right now is that I'm actually cutting hair. And I've seen people 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Clip, clip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Clip, clip. I should be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Comb, comb. And you begin to create a rhythm. Boxers in the gym, when they hit the bag, there's a rhythm. Anything that you do, for the most part, if you're really paying attention, there's a rhythm. The way you brush your teeth has a rhythm to it, that you're used to whatever it is that you do, and you know to move on to the next thing. There's a rhythm in everything you do. And when you're systematic and you have a rhythm, you're more consistent with it, you get much, much better results. So I'm focused on cutting the hair. He doesn't have a whole lot of hair that's in the way that I really have to really be worried about. I just went down one more notch. That I have to be worried about doing a whole lot of combing. In fact, I need to do more combing with the longer hair. This hair is so short, this comb may not get a lot of that excess hair. So for him, it may be, can you give me that brush? That brush you got? Yeah. For him, I may need the soft bristle side of my brush to remove the hair. One, I'm opening it back up because I'm going a little higher. I am using my corner right now. I'm going all the way back down where I was. It was one notch open.
So with
Well, I use a comb when I'm cutting. I don't usually use a brush the whole time. But the reason why I'm recommending the brush is because he's a little bit moist from just sweating or the shampoo chair. And whether he was dry, he didn't get his hair shampooed. I'm just giving you scenarios of how this happens. Oh, you got one, Joe? Okay, Joe gonna give me his. So what happens is I wanna make sure that the hair's not sticking to him. The hair's not in the way. But, thank you, I appreciate it. But I'm gonna take this, and there's not much sticking to him. This would help. This is rough. That's a rough joint right there. Yes.
You identify the dark spots. You're looking at hair, and it says like light as rain and stuff like that.
So the question is, how do you identify with the dark spots and as light as hair? So when someone is looking at somebody's hair, you're not looking to see if it's shorter or longer. You're looking to see if it's faded, blended, and if it has a good transition, right? It doesn't matter if it's lower here or lower there. What matters is that it's blended. I may cut it shorter here. Why? Because it's more dense hair here, right? It appears darker. I got to make it match this up here because he wants his fade to go straight across. If he didn't want his fade to go straight across, I can actually exaggerate that and make more of a drop because it already naturally is darker, okay? So what I'm looking for is making sure that I'm blending it out. So this is all the way open again. Can anyone tell me why I went all the way open? It's not because I'm reaching the top, but that might work. Anybody else want to tell me why I opened it back up? One, I don't want to cut too much, but it's because I stopped and I was talking. I don't remember where I was at. It's going to happen. You're either going to answer the phone to take a next appointment. You're going to check your text message. You might drop the guard, and you come back and you're like, where was I at? It's going to happen. I don't know where I was at. I got an idea where I was at, but I want to go back to the beginning. I was open. Nothing's happening, and I'm slowly going to go down. So I find a spot that I want to be at. I went down 2 notches because that wasn't enough. I hear some cutting happening. You heard it, Nick?
Yeah.
Now you don't hear anything, right? Go down again. You don't hear much of anything happening, right? I don't see it either. Go down one more time. There it is. You hear that? I'm right at the bottom, at a 90, and then just slowly dropping this little angle. Now that that's happened, did his line go away? Does it look better? It's still kind of a little something in there, right? A little bit. You see that? I can get to that, but I'm not going to waste my time messing with this because I want to transition into this. If I start focusing on this little spot right here, what do you think is going to happen? Start taking my fade up too high. He doesn't want his fade too high. I don't want to make any mistakes. So if I had a 1 right in here, close to create that guideline, what do you think I'm going to use next? I'm going to use a 1.5, and I'm going to open it, right? Because I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I'm going to take this 1.5, and the same thing. All I'm doing is going across. I'm going to close it 1 notch. You can hear the hair cut. 1 notch. Am I doing anything that looks crazy? Am I doing anything that looks like it can't be done? The key is to just attempt and do it. You're not going to figure it out until you actually do it. You can watch 1,000 videos. You can explain to me exactly what was done. You can use the correct terminology. You can do all that. But if you don't actually attempt to do the haircut, it's not going to cut. 1 more notch. Going down. Very small movements. Here's what I want you also to see. I'm going to stop it here so you can see it. The line is here. Look where my guard is in comparison to that line. It's past the line. Do you see that? Because the hair cutting's happening here. It's not happening up here. And what I see a lot of students, especially in the beginning, they're afraid, they stop like this. Newsflash. Nothing's happening. This has to be up here because this is a guard. Your cutting is happening right here. Now, is my blade cutting at that line now? Exactly. So, I don't know where I was at, so guess what I'm doing? Open it back up, work my way through, because I don't want to make a mistake. Go through, one notch. Go through, nothing's happening, one notch. Go through. There we go, got a little bit more action there. I got a dark spot coming up, so we're going to explain it in a second. One more notch. All I'm doing is going straight across. Do you notice that I'm not focusing on one spot and trying to make this spot perfect? I'm roughing this out. I'm just working my way across. Okay. One more notch. I'm getting closer to the bottom. Now, I'm using some of my corner, but when I say corner, I'm not doing this. All I'm doing, if this is my head, when I put this on the head, all I'm doing is lifting this up just a little bit. So look at what's happening. I'm just moving it a little bit. When I say I'm using my corner, I'm not doing this. I'm just lifting this just a little bit. So all the way closed. Working my way across. Did the line go away? But is it better? Okay. So now I can go to my 1 and I can open it. I'm going to hold it at a 90. When I hold it at a 90, it becomes that 1.5 again. It's longer.
So why go down to the one if you're so
Well, because it's tailored, I can adjust it as I need to, and I don't have to go back and forth. I would have went, if it was just me, I would have went straight to this. But I don't want you to do that and make mistakes and start taking the fade higher. So I'm using the 1.5. I'm going through every step. When I do this side, I'm gonna skip steps, and you'll see exactly how I do it. And we're gonna achieve the same look. But I know that my method is a little more advanced. I'm gonna explain before I go in why I do it the way I do it. I'm gonna show it to you, but you'll see I'm gonna get the same results. Doing the same thing, but skipping steps. Clippers open at a 90, working my way across. So, now that I went the whole ways across this, the line's not gone, but I'm gonna take a look at it. It looks better, but it ain't gone. Do you notice this dark spot right here? Okay, can anyone tell me why they think that's a dark spot? Yeah, it's an indentation. So it's rounded here, which is why this is lighter. It dips in here, which is why this is darker, and then all of this seems pretty even, okay? Which is why you have a much better transition happening here. I still got a little bit of a line here. I got this little dark spot here. I got a little bit of a line right here and a little bit of a line right there. Do y'all all see that? Okay, I see it. Now that I've roughed this out and you can see exactly what's happening here, I can go in and start cleaning up those little areas. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly tilt this away as I'm hitting the dark areas. And the reason why is I don't want to cut over the light area. So I'm going to avoid the light area by lifting this up like that. Okay? So now, hold this 90. There's a dark spot. It looks like I'm flat, but I'm not. Can I get a camera 3 real quick? On the TV. Yes, please. See what we got. Auxiliary 3. Oh yeah, hit 8, okay, hit ADEM switcher, then auxiliary 3. Just let me, I'll see when it pops on. I'm just working my way across. There we go, now we got action. So I want you to look at my clipper. Hopefully you can see it, I'll try and tilt this. So right now I'm flat. But when I go to hit this one little spot that's dark, do you see how that part of the clipper's away? Can you see it? Like, I'm not cutting his hair on that side. If I do this side, do you see it? Can you see how I'm away from his head? Let me tilt it a little more like this. Can y'all see it? I'm just using that corner, but what I don't want to do is affect this. Okay, we can go back to 1, please. Either corner doesn't matter. Idea is I gotta clean it out. I just want you to see what that angle looks like. It's not an exaggerated angle. It's almost flat. Now I'm gonna flatten this one out. You can hear it, Nick, cutting a little bit more. Using that corner, avoiding this light spot right here. 1 notch down. In that corner. Now it's an exaggerated corner. Flatten it out a little bit. Work my way across. Same thing here. This tiny little dark spot. Just mostly corner. Tilt it a little bit more. Flatten it out because it wasn't doing anything. Work my way through. 1 more notch. I don't want this light area to get worse, so I'm avoiding it and I'm just using my corner in this dark spot. Yeah, you can't, he don't know it. Exactly. The focus is, now how's it look now? A whole lot better, right? Raj, you getting this? All right. So now, this little area right there, I'm gonna go back down. Remember we had that line I didn't want to mess with? I'm back to my open, nice and low. How we looking now? If I would have went in earlier to hit that line, I probably would have took the fade up by accident. So what I did was I avoided it, went a little bit higher, and then I worked my way down. I just went a little bit higher than the next guard. I didn't go right to the next guard because it was closed 1. I went to the 1.5, and then I came back down to my 1. That's a good trick and technique to keep the fade and the integrity of the fade staying in the same spot rather than putting that other guard and keep going up, because then you have a client who's upset because you took the fade too high. Now, I do see a heavy weight here, right? It looks fine over here because it's blending in with that, but it's heavy. And the reason it's heavy is because his head's rounding from here and then it's protruding here and then it's flattening out. So this little weight is because of just the shape of his head. So I'm gonna go ahead with my 1. And here's a trick. Instead of me using a 90, I'm going to tilt it a little bit more exaggerated because what I'm doing is I'm adding 1/16 from this piece right here, 1/16 from the edge of this blade where the blade begins to cut, and it's almost a 1/8, but I don't want to be flat on top of it because I don't want to mess up the rest of the fade. So I'm just going to go in right in that dark spot. Do you hear it being cut? And it looks better. If I got to go up a little higher, I'm going to put my 1.5 on. I'm going to hold it at a 90, as always. Flatten it out. And then you have a much better look. Do y'all see that? What I didn't do was skin the bottom. So your trimmer and your outliner is a finishing tool. It's not a beginning tool. It's not truck. It doesn't do the heavy lifting. It does the detail work. So the fade is in there. The details is now getting all these little hairs out the way, right? The line up needs to be clean. So we're gonna do that right now. And the fear is, if you do this, what happens? You're gonna put a new line in. Where did I create my first original weight line? Right above here, what's that? Speak. Right above the ear. What is that area? The parietal ridge. I put that line right at the bottom of the parietal ridge. I did in my mind. Did he tell me to put it there? No, I did. I did it. So now I have a point of reference to go to. So when I go ahead and I use my liner right underneath here, I'm going to stay below that area in which I marked it in the beginning. And notice when I get close to it, what do? I flick away. But when I'm down here, it stays flat up against his head the whole ways up until I get right to that area of transition and I flick away. This is on his head the whole time. I'm not going like this. I'm not doing this either. I'm staying on the whole time, working my way up. Once I get to that point of transition, I begin to then flick away. If I need to, I'll go in with this closed just to follow up, just in case I missed anything. Or if it created a soft line that I don't necessarily see, I'll just go right over it real quick. And now he has a skin fade on this side. How's the height on that fade for you? Good? Okay, cool. So next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and line this. Now it looks like he's already getting a line on there, so it's okay to line you up? Okay. So all I'm doing is stabilizing my liner with my finger here. I'm going to place it on his head and I'm going to work my way to his line. What I want you to see is, if I can get this to move to the side real quick. This line doesn't come straight down. His head sitting here, this line doesn't come straight down. It actually goes forward. Can you all see that? So I'm going to try my best to keep it going forward as much as possible. It doesn't go straight down. It goes forward. So one of the things that you could do is place your comb here in the way you want to go and go forward to your comb. It's a quick little cheat. You sleeping on me? So now look what I just did with that line. All I did was place the comb in the direction of the shape I want this line to be, and I went from here right up to the line. It's a good cheat code. Thing is, the only problem with that is you can't see what's behind the comb. Okay? But it gives me an idea where his line is. I don't have to take his line back. I can go right up to that line, and then I can follow it back up. And it helps me to maintain the integrity of his hairline without digging into it. Okay? Now, what I do notice is a little dark right here, so I can do one of two things. I can begin to create the shape up in here if you want that, or I can fade this out right there. What would you like, Nick?
What do you think is better?
Either or is fine with me. It's going to be a lesson regardless, so whatever you would like is fine with me.
You can fade it out.
Fade that a little bit out? Okay. So what you need to notice that right in here in this area, he's got low density. It's light. So I got to fade this out into this corner. I'm going to go ahead and put my one on. Notice I put the chair in the position I need it in so I can stay ergonomically where I need to be. So I'm not going like this. Okay? All I'm doing is working on this corner. Open and close. Open and close. Go to the 1.5. Open it up. Get some of that little bit of weight right there. Cool. His hair is going this way. So look which way I'm cutting with the clipper. Against the grain. Now I'm just using the corner because I'm only working in a very small space. I want to make sure, let me do this so you guys can see what I'm doing. Do this, and I want to zoom in, bam. Is it not gonna go up? Oh. This one. Not that one. Oh, this is off. Okay. We're good. I'll take us down. So I want you to look at what I'm doing in this corner. I'm just hitting those little dark hairs, tilting my angle. Because this little bottom piece is going to get faded out right here. Avoiding that light spot. Cutting above it and around it. Now it looks better. You guys see that? So, most clients, they like that fade. They want to have this little line right here. He wanted it faded, so we'll fade it. Are you okay with a little bit of enhancement to make that pop a little bit? Okay, we'll do that as well. So right here, I'm going to start blending his beard in. All I'm doing is all the way open, little notches, right up top. Using the corner, little notches, right up top. Open it all the way up. Any little dark spots, avoiding any light spots. So I already have some pre-made mixture here. Okay, fantastic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this very light in the front, using this as a guideline. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start spraying far away from it first. I'm not real close to it because I don't want it to look exaggerated. Like Steph was showing you yesterday, you want it to look as natural as possible. And so what I did is I put a very light touch. Does that look like it's drastic? No, it looks pretty natural, right? Once I put this line on it, head back. Once I put this line on it, you guys will be able to see here. It'll pop out just a little bit more. Now it has a much natural looking shape up in the front with a little bit of enhancement to make it pop. All right? So any questions about what we did on this side? Nothing? All right. I'm going to go ahead and work on this side. You can sit up, Nick. And I'm going to do a different technique. Yes. So your question is, how often should you use enhancements?
No, like, you know how you like spray it a little bit, pull back.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like this depending on the space and?
Great question. So what you want to know is, how do I know how close to get with my color?
That and like when you want to be finished, is that something?
Well, it depends. I can put another base on it and it'll be darker. Now, for the sake of the visual right now, I didn't do it as dark, so it looks more natural. But depending on what he's getting ready to do, I might put a base on it, then put another base on it. I might put a second or third base on it. It's color, it's semi-permanent color. It's going to stick to the hair, it's going to stick to the skin. What I don't want him to do is go home, sweat it out. If I put a small base on, then it don't look the same later on for the wedding or for the event. But if I put just a little bit more, it may look a little too dark right now. And then when he goes home, once he takes a shower, it'll lighten up. And that just comes with time. As far as how much product, the closer I am, the darker it's going to be. The further away I am, the lighter it's going to be because it's going to mist it. Not everyone's a fan of enhancements or color. I didn't have to do it on them. You saw that the line was already there. It looked pretty good the way it was. I didn't have to do it. But for the sake of showing you, and even right now when you look at it, you can still see that his hair is still light. It just looks a little bit sharper. I didn't do anything crazy. Something like this, you can charge more money. So whether you're opposed to doing it or not, you can charge more money. The bottom line is to make money, as much money as you can in the chair per service.
Just for that little section?
If I got to pull a product out to give you something you want, I'm charging you for it. Now, there's different ways that people charge. People charge a la carte for everything, or they have a base price and all is included within that time frame. I'm a person that's a base price, all is included in that time frame. Okay? So I'm going to make sure that my pricing is according to what I may or may not use in that time frame. Okay? Doctors, they pull out a new utensil, a new tool, they're going to charge you for that. Everything. They charge you for the dumbest stuff. You'd be like, what is this fee? And if you check your bill from the hospital, there's a lot of stuff that you can question and never remove it off your bill. Because they'll throw some stuff, oh yeah. You can question a lot of stuff and be like, what is this? What's this charge? What's this charge? Like, oh, I'm sorry, that was a little, we can remove that. So anyway, the point is, if I'm gonna add anything, what I'm not gonna do is make it look fake, right? I want it to look as natural as possible. There are people who want their hair to look crazy. They want it really, really dark. They want it really, really sharp. I'm a fan of giving the client what they want. The only time that I won't give a client something that they want if it's really going to compromise my reputation. And for example, I've had a guy who was in college and he came into the barbershop. His hairline was 1 finger length back the whole ways around because he was in the dorms whacking his line. It was a weekend party happening. He was like, can you hook me up? And I said, well, I'm going to have to cut this down and blend that in and line you up. He goes, no. I want to keep it dark and shape it up. I said, I can't cut you. You're not going to go to the whole college party with your hairline an inch back from where it's supposed to be because you want it sharp. I'm not doing it. You definitely not getting a haircut in here because you're going to go there and say, you got a haircut from Sharper Image or Tyreek or whatever. And even if they didn't say me, if they say the barbershop, that's everybody in the shop jacked him up. Okay? So there has been times where I'm going to refuse a service if it's going to compromise my reputation. As far as enhancement, hey, that man got what he paid for. Whether you like it, I got clients who don't like enhancement, they don't get it. I got clients who love it, they get it every time. I got clients that want excess, they're going to get it too. Because I know they're going to wash their face and it's going to lighten up. You know, so that's that. So now we got to get to this side, right? What I want to do is just get some of this hair out the way. So notice I didn't blast his head. I wet the comb. Move some of this out the way. I don't want all his hair wet. I just want to get this hair out the way because I want to fade this. So I didn't do anything. I don't want this to be wet because what I don't want to be doing is cutting wet hair right now. I'm using my clippers to cut. So I get that out the way. And then I can work on the stuff that we talked about earlier, as well as my technique for this side, and we're going to do the same thing. How'd you guys like this side? Good? You learned some stuff? But does anything make sense? What did you take away mostly from when I did this side? Anybody? Yes? How not to raise that line up? And what was the technique that really made sense? I went a guide higher and slowly work my way down. Good. Anybody else? Oh, like instead of having it completely angled, just a very slight angle.
Yeah, just instead of having the clipper straight flat on it, just use the
A very light, it wasn't a drastic. Okay, good. All right, well, we're gonna move on because I'm gonna be doing a lot of those same techniques on this side. Let me get this out the way because it's wet. Go back to my dry comb for this. Now remember, earlier we looked at that. He's got a little bit of weight right there. You guys see that, right? And the big thing he has is this weight happening right in here. So we're gonna get to that as well. But if you notice, this length isn't much different than this length at all. Do you see that? So I don't want to compromise his fade because he doesn't want it high. Notice what I didn't do is take a 4 and go the whole ways up either. That's like a common thing. Most beginning students, they get all this out the way. If you're going to go and get a lot of excess out the way, get it to an area right above the parietal ridge so you know what you're working with. Don't go the whole ways up because you may need some of that hair to work with. Okay? So say somebody comes in like Jerry, he got his hair like that and he wants it tight. You don't know how tight. Just go a little bit above the parietal ridge because you can do some shear work. You can pull that out and cut. You can do some clipper over comb work and blend that in and you got more hair to work with. Once you cut it off, it's a wrap. So if you take that 4 the whole ways up thinking, oh, this is the shape of the cut, you'll get this is what you'll get. And then you'll be like, I don't want to cut that. And you either leave it alone or you'll comb it to the side. I think whoever cut his hair, they combed it to the side. Because now it don't look bad, look. But look what it's actually doing. It's uneven and he has a lot of weight right there. Okay? All right. So the first thing I'm going to do, if I know that the parietal ridge is my transition point, and I know that this is going to be a 0 below that, I don't need to make a 0 line because I know it's right here where this bump is, right across, down to his occipital bone is where the 1. If I know that I'm going to be a finger length, pinky length here, finger length back here, I can see that. Do you all see that in your head? Okay, so I don't need to create it. I'm going to go straight to my 1.5. Okay? My 1.5 is going to be where? Come up here real quick, Danielle, and I want you to point to me where I'm going to play. He's like, wait, don't cut my head. Hey, I got this, brother. Chill. So I want you to point to me where I'm going to place my 1.5 on this haircut. I want to see if you can see it. Very good. It's going to be right above that. Very good. Good eye. Yep, that's all I needed. I just want to know that you guys can visualize what I'm saying, because right there's a lot of hair there, right? And you guys immediately want to go to putting guidelines in. If you can't see it, put a guideline. But if you can see it, challenge yourself to not put a guideline and visualize the guideline, okay? If you can't see it, put it. If you can see it, challenge yourself. Got it? So I'm going to go ahead and put my 1.5 on, and I'm going to start at a 90, right where Danielle said, right above that parietal ridge, and I'm going to work my way across just like I did the other side. Do you hear the haircut? Okay, good. Y'all all hear it? Good. So all I'm doing is at a 90, working my way across. I'm going to drop that angle, flatten it out a little bit. A little dark spot right there. So I'm going to hit that right away with that slight angle. As I'm working my way back, flatten this out a little bit more because he's got more density. Work my way back up to a 90. And I'm done with that section. Did it look like I did anything? Not at all. But I did. You all heard it. I'm going to go ahead and close it all the way. Same thing. Work my way across. Hit this little spot right there. I'm going to open it the whole ways up because there's a little bit of weight right there. Just my corner. Say that again? I did close it, but density showed me that he had light spot there. Who asked me that? Yeah, density showed me that he had light spot there. So I'm just going back over it so that way I don't keep this drastic like light spot. Work my way back, open, flatten it back out, and proceed. Okay? Next thing I'm going to do, I'll go ahead with my 1. I'm going to open it right at a 90, right at that parietal ridge. Work my way across. Same way I just did on the other side, but I'm working top to bottom. Do you see it slowly coming together? I'm not going to worry about the back because I want you to see how I do the back. Can y'all see that? I want to make sure y'all can see. A little bit of corner because I see some dark spots because his head's dipping right here. Close it right below that parietal ridge at a 90. Open it all the way up because there's more density back here. Work my way up to the front. Do you see the fade coming together? All right, you probably can see it better this way. See it coming together? Keep watching. Tilt this a little bit so you can see a little bit more. There you go. Hold at that 90, hit that little dark spot. Edomar, October the 7th. Norristown High School, career fair. Okay. So now I'm looking at this. I got a pretty good transition going down into this bottom here, right? I'm not going to worry about the back so much. We'll look at that in a second. But do you see my transition going into the top? Close this all the way. Again, avoiding the front. Hit that little dark spot there. Take this off, open. Can y'all see it? Oh, you can't see it. Y'all gotta tell me if you couldn't see it. Better? Okay. Yeah, if y'all can't see, tell me to tilt to the side or something. It's because I zoomed in. So I made it a little tighter shot. Do you see it coming together? Do you see the fade? I'm holding at a 90. Did I create any lines in this fade? Nope. Now I'm gonna flatten it out. Go right below that. If I gotta go up, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna angle it first, and if I gotta go higher, I'm gonna put a guard on, I'm gonna angle it first. Every time. Do you guys see the fade happening? How much quicker did I just do that? A lot quicker. Not only that, I didn't put any lines in the fade at all. I just blended it all the way down. There might be a dark spot here or there, but the shape of this cut is much quicker. The transition was much smoother, and there's no line for me to remove where I got to work on that line. So let me go a little bit lower, all the way open. If I wanted to, I can create a little bottom line, like don't go lower than that, right? If I wanted to. But watch, open this up, flatten this out, work my way back. I know that's where that line's going to be, right? Close this all the way. I'm just flicking away right below where I want to be. One notch open. One notch open. Make sure you ain't sleep. I know you got them long shifts. One notch open. Look at the fade. Do you see the fade happening? See how quick I did that? It's not just years of experience, okay? There's a part of that. It's a lot of repetition, but you saw it. Many of you already said, you knew that this was skin down here, this is where my 1 was, and my 1.5 was gonna be up there. If you already see that, notice I never put a 4. I didn't go up here and take all this weight off. I left all this alone. I didn't even get up in here. All I did was blended this into that, right? So this is where your speed and efficiency comes in. I will tell you that trying it this way is going to be just as difficult as trying it the other way. I would recommend trying it this way first. Once you have a system and you figure out how that works, challenge yourself and try and do this. In time, you'll be slower at first. You'll be like, he told me this was faster, but now I'm slow. It's because you're doing it new. It's like the first day you came and they gave you shears and told you 0-degree haircut and section the hair off, you was slow. A month later, you was faster because you was doing it. Okay, same thing. So look at how the fade came together. If I need to, I'll put my 1/16 on. It's like a cheater chuck. And all I'm doing is going across all of this just to get any little hairs that are a little bit long sticking out. Close it. Get a little bit more. Now, when you look at this from the front, let's take a look at this real quick. Does it look different on either side, even though I didn't skin this side yet? As far as the height and shape of the fade, does it look much different? It's a little darker over here because you got more light, but other than that, no, it looks the same. because the reference points on the head don't change. His head don't change. I didn't have a mirror to be cutting and look at it and be like, okay, don't go that high, or don't go that high. I'm using his head as my markers, my reference points, my areas that I'm transitioning. This doesn't change. His parietal ridge is where it is. This is flat. His head changes right here. It's rounding off in the same spot. See that? It's going away from the comb in the same exact spot. So I don't have to go in and do a whole lot of manipulation to anything. It is what it is, and I can just work through it. So now let me get through the rest of this fade so we can show you how to do the back. And I think I want to zoom this out in a second so you can see the whole back. I'm just going across my 1.5 because guess what? I forgot where I was at, right? So I'm just going over, making sure I got everything I needed, close it, hit it a little bit more. I don't have to work as hard because I can see what's happening. Now I can go to my 1, open it up at a 90, clean this up, no guard. Do you see how many steps I skipped? That I didn't have to do 20 steps in order to achieve this look. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with my liner, right at the bottom, work my way up. Over here is gonna create a line because I didn't cut enough off over there. See where the line was then created? But do you see the fade? All right, give me 1 second. This is the school. Thank you for calling Premier Barber Institute. How can I help you? Yeah. Okay, clinic is open from 10:30 to 7:30, Monday through Friday. They're all... Yep, you can walk in right now. There's plenty of students that can accommodate you. Thank you very much. Yep, bye-bye. Okay, cool. So, now we see the back. Here's what I want you to look at before we even get into all this top. What I'm looking at is, does this look like this? Does this look like this? Does this look like this? I'm sorry? Right there, let me back this up. This might even help as well. Okay, is that better? Okay. So, what I'm looking at the shape and the length. Does this look like this? Is all I'm doing. And as I get closer and closer, I'm just comparing. Okay? This is? Yeah. But now it's dark. Let me try this. How's that? A little bit better?
Yeah, it was just the circle looked like.
Okay. You know, you sit right here, you probably, I said if you sit here, you might be able to get it. I might adjust this stage eventually anyway. Is this better? Can y'all see it? I know if I put it there, I'm gonna get it, you're gonna get a better look with the camera, but that circle is right here, right? All right. I think it's a little too dark though, right? Is that too dark? I'm gonna put this back over here. I have to make a couple adjustments here. All right. Okay. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and what am I going to start with? My 1.5. I'm going to start my 1.5, and here's where I'm already done. So I'm working my way across here. And all I'm doing is matching this up. open, 90, flat, halfway. If I gotta go higher, I'm open it back up, close it. All I'm looking to do is to match it. That's what I'm doing as I'm working my way across. Can y'all see that? Hold on.
When you do that bump, can you try to like explain it like extra good?
What's that?
Like,
When I do this part right here,
yeah.
you want me to explain this extra good?
Yeah.
I got you. It's called, what's this area called? It's occipital bone. But different people have more tissue there. It's called adipose tissue. Okay? What is adipose tissue? Huh? Fatty tissue. No, it's not a meat lump. That's that hood stuff. Everybody's got there's a name for it all over. Hey, Nick, yours isn't that bad. They're just teasing. Don't worry about it. But no, you're going to have clients that they're going to have more adipose tissue than others. Adipose is fatty tissue. So open. Flat across. Yep, closing it, holding it at 90. Open it up at a 90. I'm just going a little bit higher. I see a little bit of darkness right there. So all I'm doing is comparing. Close it. Work my way across. Take this off, open this up. Work my way across. Here's another thing. Yo, Edomar, let me get the camera on 3 real quick, please. I want to show you this because I think this is important. Camera 3. E. There we go. All right, so here's my workstation. What happens is while you're cutting and you're throwing your guards, what happens is they start getting out of control. When you need that guard back and you go back, they're all over the place. Try your best, if you can, to just keep them in order. So even when I go from my 1.5 and I'm cutting, I want to place it there. It may not, I don't have to place it perfectly, but I want to put it in that general area. So when I go back to it, it's right there. I don't have to look for it like this. Because this is going to slow you down. You try to look for your guard, you're like, damn, where's my guard at? So if they're in order, or in the order that you use them, when you're done using it, just try to throw it back in that same area. Doesn't matter if it falls like that. It's still in the same area. I know that's where my 1.5 is. Keeping it organized is also going to help with efficiency. Okay? That's good. You can go back to camera 1. Thank you. I just saw myself do that, and I said, you know what, let me explain this real quick. At my workstation, you begin to have a rhythm. You'll know you have a rhythm. It'll start to adjust, and it's almost like magic. It's like, dang, how you just throw it right? You just get used to it. You just get used to being in that same space. That's what I just did. Huh? I went back to my 1.5 because I was talking and I don't know where I was at. Everything's good. Yeah. So I knew I had an idea where I was at, but I wasn't going to go as high. I'm just trying to see where I was at. I'm at the 1. It's not cutting much. Close it. Not cutting much. Oh, there it is. Open it up. Found a spot. Close it again. Work my way across. Good. Now I know where I'm at. Take this open. Work my way across. I can remove all this. That actually looks better when I do that, right? Easier to see. Y'all were confused because it's like, man, when's that going to go away? right? It's not really that big of a deal, because I know that's going to be bald, so I'm not even looking at that. Slowly work my way up. Working my way up. Open it. Working my way up. Close it. Working my way up. Open it. All the way open. 90. Flatten this out a little bit. So this right here, if I need this to get stretched a little more, look down for me. Look straight down. There you go. That'll help stretch it. I can also see it a little bit better. The only thing is, depending on your fade, if you have too much of a drop, that'll look like you got a line in your fade. So what you want to avoid is creating that extra line. So I'm going to go just slightly above it. Notice I'm using the angle just to get around it. Slowly working my way down, closing it. Y'all can see, okay, good. Slowly working my way down, closing it. Open it up a little bit because it looks like I need to go a little bit higher here. Back down 1 notch. All I'm looking at is dark spots. Close it all the way. Get right in that crease right there. Lift that out. Make sure it's blending into my side that's already completed. So now the back part is pretty much done. Remember, keeping this flat the whole ways, going the whole ways up. Here, look, here's where he has a mole that sticks out. Now, when I'm combing, I can feel that. So when I'm going to cut, I don't cut over it. The other thing is, if I put a razor on it, I don't want to slice that off. What's going to happen if I slice that off? It's going to be bleeding for a long time. You said onions? Oh, organs. So I've actually seen somebody do that on their state exam. Yeah, and the guy didn't stop bleeding. I was taking my test like, oh man. I was cleaning up like, man. I was leaving like, man. I'm serious, no joke. So the lady who did it, she was nervous, right? She still passed her exam. Why do you think she passed her exam? Because she kept calm and she went through her universal precaution procedures. So even though she had to, it was on the face. It was like a little mole on the face. Even though it happened on the face, she did everything she was supposed to do. She was nervous, moved through the rest of that. Then she had to go do her chemical service, and guy was sitting on the side just like, it wasn't leaking. I'm exaggerating with the leaking part. It was leaking when it happened, right? And it just kept going. And she was trying to hold, and when she would stop, it would just keep coming. She eventually got it to slow down. The alum that's in your septic coagulated the blood and tightened the skin, and it eventually stopped. But she went through her universal precaution procedures, which is why she passed. It wasn't that she ripped somebody's mole off and, I mean, it was like clean, just sweep. That just happens with nervousness, you know? Also, you want to pick somebody that you're not going to have those types of issues with. Anyway, just things to be aware of. Look at how I'm going across, working my way up. Now I took my time on this so you guys can actually see the steps and kind of stop me while I'm in steps and then movements. But I want to make sure that I finish this before you guys go to lunch. So you guys have a few more minutes right before lunch, and then I'll do another one and I'll zip through that other one a lot quicker using my techniques, and you can stop me whenever you want. If need be, we'll see. I'm not sure. I mean, I think I might do his. Yeah, I mentioned something to him last week, so. What happened? Oh. So all I'm doing, now you see how the fade's coming together? Right? Can you tell that that was done 2 different ways? Nah, you can't. It looks like, you know, it's the same exact technique the whole ways through. Work my way across, open this up. Take my 1/16. And when I say I'm using this as a cheater chuck, I'm not aggressively pushing on the head. I'm really just softly going over this. I mean, I can even go all the way up here, look. Because what I'm doing, and let me explain to you when I'm going way up here in his head, what I'm actually doing. So I'll start off like this. This is your surgical style of cutting. When I scoop off, look how far away the blade is from the head. Okay? So as I'm rocking out, I'm not actually cutting any of that hair up here because there's a space between my comb and the blade. But it doesn't appear that way. So all I'm doing is using this to dust off anything and get any dark spots that might be sticking out. I'm using surgical, and then I'll roll out to standard. This is standard. Look at the space between the guard and the comb. You guys see that? Again, that comes with time, that comes with repetition and muscle memory. I'm going to go ahead, blade at a 90, work my way up. Now, if I was going to do this myself at the shop and this customer was coming in to get this done, I would have done it this way, and I wouldn't have done half and half. That's for the sake of the educational purpose. I would have worked my way around the head and knocked this haircut out. Because see, I didn't even bald this part yet. This is bald, right? But this is not. And what happens is if I'm skipping around and jumping around, I might forget that area. So you want to just be consistent in whatever it is that you're doing. But for the sake of the learning purpose, I had to work around this. So how does this fade look? Good? I got a little bit of line right there. I don't know if y'all see it. You see it? Huh? Not really? Who's that? Oh, is it? Yeah, you might have to slide over. I think I'm going to adjust the stage. I think I'm going to have to adjust the stage to make some adjustments there. But right there it is. Notch up. Open this all the way up. Hit right in that little dimple there. Now, the other thing is, I'm telling you dimple, I'm telling you adipose tissue, I'm telling you lumps and crevices. Don't do that to your client. This is for the sake of learning. I would never call somebody a hot dog pack, meat pack, quarter saver. I would never do that, ever, right? But you see, when I told y'all, I use technical terms. It's adipose tissue. I'm never even going to tell the client he's got adipose tissue. But let me tell you something. Downstairs on that clinic floor, we can say whatever we want about the person in their head because this is a learning environment.
In our head?
What? About their head. I'm telling you right now, if you're downstairs, I want you to be as professional as you possibly can be. If I come around, or Itamar, or Chris, or Steph comes around, they're probably going to use technical terms. You got a little adipose tissue there. What you going to do? You're either going to pull this down. You might want to pull this up, right? But that's not something you want to do a whole lot of because we know what happens, okay? But yeah, we're going to use technical terms. We the physicians in here. You understand what I'm saying? This whole school is a learning environment. Clients that come in here already know. And you guys, make sure you have the attitude that it's okay to mess somebody up on the clinic floor. Straight up, she's smiling like, nah. No, but you shouldn't be.
Well, that's why I need to work on my client consultation.
I've been cutting for 28 years. I got a client that I've been cutting for a while. I've been cutting him since he was probably in high school. He's a grown man, kids and everything. I gave him a cut on his face in the same place 3 times in the last year and a half. In the same spot. He's got really chubby cheeks. He's really fit, but he has like droopy, like heavy cheeks. No matter how hard I pull and stretch, I got him in the same spot 3 times. His girlfriend said, listen, something's got to give here. What's going on? It's not that I'm not good. It's not that I'm not careful. It's not that I'm moving. The first time he was talking during the shave, but I didn't blame him. I took it. I ate that one. I was shaving him. I was going to hit his line, right? I had him back. I was pulling this up, and he was like, yeah, man. And he already got all this chubbiness. He was like, yeah, man. And so while I'm going, he says, yeah, and bam. I was like, here we go. Did everything I needed to do. He was like, man, I felt that. You got me? Dang. Got the scar. It healed over a couple months. Again, don't talk. It's just still very tender. It was still healing. Sliced them again. Like, what the heck is going on? So it's going to happen, y'all. Like, don't be scared. And here, you're allowed to. At the shop, I can't. He's paying, right? They paying downstairs, but they paying for supplies. They ain't paying for service. All that money that we get coming in there, that helps to pay for supplies and things that we need to keep the clinic going. All right? That ain't no, the school is not getting rich off them $5, just so y'all know, okay? I'm gonna take this 1.5 just to get up here in this corner a little bit. All right, cool. I'm gonna go ahead, get my enhancement back out again. You guys can see where I'm at. I don't necessarily have to shape it up like I did the first time. He has a much sharper line here, but you see how that's still going forward, right? All I'm doing is taking this right up to his line. Take it off, take a look at it, a little bit better. Give him a little bit more. A little bit better. A little bit better. It didn't seem like I did a whole lot, but trust me, there's a little bit of enhancement on there. Go ahead in. Head back. Y'all see? Okay. Just going right up to his line. Voila. I still think that I need to hit this corner just a little bit more. As I'm looking at it, you can sit up now. As I'm looking at it, so right here. So can y'all see? Okay. It's going this way. Clean this up right here at the bottom. Work my way up. Couple little hairs. Better. 1/16, my half guard. And there we go. There's his fade. Let me get to this top real quick. We're not going to do a whole lot to it, but I'm going to fix this, add some texture in here, and trim a lot of this off the top. So first thing I want to do is, now this water looks yucky, right? So, but what I can tell you is, how's that smell, Nick?
Good.
Smell that? So I have a hair tonic in it. Hair tonic is good for 2 things. Well, for a variety of things. It creates a good base for styling hair as styling agent. It also helps to become a shear lotion for your shears, which is awesome because then you're not going to be dulling your shears out really quickly. The other thing that it acts as is it helps to keep the hair moisturized much longer. And as far as being able to style it, to keep the hair wet longer, and I can go ahead and go through this. You'd be surprised how much the lotion from the hair tonic helps to provide. And notice when I put that spray on, his enhancement don't come off. It's not dripping. It's not dripping. But if you also notice, I sprayed away from his face and was combing the hair away from his face. Because if I blast him and I comb forward, it's going to drip down his forehead, it's going to be on his nose, and that's not a comfortable experience for your guests. What I'm doing is combing his hair a bunch of different ways because I'm examining it. I'm also looking at the length of it. And now what I want to do is start combing it in the direction that he does. I already got all the excess water off, so I shouldn't have too much drip happening. He's wearing it to the side. Now, do you wear a part or do you, I'm not talking about a hard part, but like a natural soft part?
Yes.
You do, okay. That's important for me to know. But the other thing it does is having some tonic or some antiseptic in your water touches the sense of smell too. Your water doesn't get old. You ever have a bottle sitting for a while, it just starts to smell funky? I don't want to be spraying that on my clients and it smell funky. As a matter of fact, somebody spray that water bottle just quick and see if it stinks. It's been sitting there, so I don't even know. Just spray it and smell it. You can't smell nothing? Okay. All right. So the first thing is, when I comb this all the way over, can you see how disconnected and uneven that hair is? Do y'all see that? Does it stink? Yeah, it stink. Yeah, a little bit. I'm not spraying that on nobody. It's not happening. But do you already see how his hair is disconnected and uneven right there? So I got to clean that up. The other thing, he said he does wear a soft part. So because he wears a soft part, let me go ahead and put this soft part in there first. That's important because I know that this hair over here is going to be traveling that direction. This hair is going to be falling forward. If it's not, then what happens is I'm going to have this weight line. If this hair starts coming over here, then I'm going to have longer hair because this hair is much longer and look how it hangs over. Okay? So I want to get this out the way because he does wear a soft part, and now I can work with this. Do you already see all this little bit of weight we have here? It looks fine from the front, but as I start rotating that around, he's got a little bit of weight that needs blending. Not much, just a little bit. So let's get to this part first. Tilt this. Okay. What I'm going to do here, I might even be in the way for this one. Right there. I'm going to take my comb. I'm going to use the side with less tension. Not the side with more tension, the side with less tension, because it's going to have it more natural fall. If I use more tension, I'm going to be taking too much hair and it's not going to have the natural fall that I want. So I want this to have a natural fall. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this up. There's the hair hanging off. I see my guide on the end. All I'm doing, keeping the still blade still, is going to be sitting on this area, and then my thumb is just doing all the work. I'm going straight up. Do you see it? I'm just going straight up in the shape of the cut. Cut anything hanging over. Comb that down. I'm just going straight up. Can y'all see? Okay, good. Everything. These guys are staying together the whole time. They married. Okay? This is what I'm doing. From here, this right here is where I'm setting my still blade. Everything then gets cut and I'm going up. Okay? Tilt right here for me. Do you see me going straight up? Just working my thumb. Right there's that excess hair coming off. Come back over, cut some more. Comb it, and we got rid of that weight line. The weight line is gone. Let me turn this way so you guys can see. Weight line is gone. Okay? Y'all see that? So, now that we got this out the way, I'm going to do the same thing in the back. Remember this area right here? Straight up. Cut that off. Work my way up. Cut that off. Work my way straight. All I'm doing is going straight up. Another thing is you can put your comb in an angle and do the same thing. When you do that, you see the fade in the hair. Do you see it? As I pull this out, anything sticking out is what I'm cutting. So it doesn't matter how I'm holding this comb. If I hold it just horizontal and I cut too much, what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to create another line. If I go into the fade and pull this out, this is a no-no. You see that angle right there? Is this comb in the shape of the haircut? It's not. So I'm going to put a pothole in there. What you want to do is you want to make sure you're maintaining the shape of the cut going the whole ways up. Anything sticking out that comb, there it is. Do you see it? Comb this down. As I'm going up, I'm staying in the shape of the cut. Did you see the fade in the comb? Okay. If I push in, it's darker. If I come out, that hair's right on the edge. You see the fade. You see that, right? So let's do this slowly. As I'm going up, do you see those hairs sticking out? Those are the hairs that need cut. I don't need to go in and cut this. I just need to cut the hair that's falling out of place. See all this? If I push further, look how much it is. That's going to be a pothole, a new line. Not doing a pothole, not a new line. I'm staying in the shape of the cut. Anything falling in there gets cut off right there. Do you see it? Am I touching his head? No. I'm just staying in the shape of the cut. So you guys can see it. Watch it. Notice how I started cutting before I got to the area I wanted to cut. Because I want to have that fluid motion going the whole ways up. As long as I'm not changing the shape of the cut, it won't affect my fade because that hair is right behind the comb. Anything sticking outside the comb is what's getting cut. Y'all see that? And there's that excess gone. Back here, where he had most of that weight, I'm lifting this up in an angle. There it is. See the hair sticking out? Hair sticking out. There's my fade right here. Pull this out. Anything sticking out is what I'm cutting. Do you see that? And I'm not using my thinner shears. Just using my shears to do that. Now he don't have that heavy weight hanging over. Okay? So the next thing I want to do is to blend this in. I'm going to get there, but I want to start at the apex. Get this out the way. Move this out the way. I'm going to grab this hair right here at the apex. I'm going to lift this up. I want to look at what his hair is doing. So look at what we have here. Can y'all see that? So, well, it's not going to be even. The reason why it's not going to be even is this hair is traveling a greater distance. So this hair is going to be shorter. So what this should look like is like this. I'm checking at the apex. Now watch when I start lifting this up. Do you see that angle? Here's the weight right there. But do you see the angle? And my fingers. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, lift this up. I'm following his angle, yeah. I'm going to use the side with more tension because I need this to be nice and clean. Here's my guide at the bottom. Do you see it? There's my guide at the top. Do you see it? Yeah? Okay. There it is. Now I'm going to go to the next section, right past the occipital. The apex. There it is. There's that weight. I'm lifting this up. There's the weight. There's my guide inside my fingers. Do you see it? Now, I don't want 3 yet. I just got to move this. I was trying to position it. I got you. Here we go. I'll do it like this. So as I'm lifting this up, do you see my guide and my hair in the angle? You see it? Okay. Going down that same area. There's my guide. That looks good. I'm going to get this in a second. I'm still focused on the top. Work my way across. My next section, I'm about 3 sections past his apex. Here is the longest part of the hair right here. This part. This is the part that I got to match to this part over here. So anything outside of that is what's getting cut because this haircut is like this. And the reason his haircut is like this because he wears it to the side, he wants it to lay down, and this hair's traveling at a greater distance. Yes, sir. Because this hair is shorter. This hair is shorter. So if I lift this up, there's my guide right here. Boom. If I lift this up, there's my guy right here. Danielle, come help me real quick. So hold this piece of hair right here. Hold this piece of hair up, okay? And I'm going to hold this piece of hair. As a matter of fact, I'm going to lift all this hair up first. I want you to grab that end piece right up there. That's the longest piece right there, right? That's where my guide is. So if I lift this hair up from here to here, out this hair over here is that short right there. Do you see the angle? So I have to match this to this on the angle. If I cut this short over here, this hair starts sticking up. It's not going to weigh this down. He's not going to have anything on this side. This hair is going to stick up if I cut this the same length as this one. It'll start sticking up because it's too short. It doesn't have the length or the weight. That's good, hon. Thank you. So let me go in here, grab this hair, take my finger. Here it is on the end. Here's the length. That gets cut. I'm taking the same section, working my way down. Here's my guide at the top. Here's the guide that I already cut on that side. I reach my guide. Did I cut a lot of that excess dry hair that was out that we recognized in the beginning? It's gone. But I'm not changing his shape or the look of his cut. I'm just cleaning it up. Now I'm going to go to one more section. We're about 4 sections away from the apex. Let me get this front out the way. I'm going to lift this up. Again, here's my guide. That's the longest piece right there. You see it. Lift this up. Longest piece. Right here, I'm cutting this off. Notice my fingers are going down in the shape of the cut. Grabbing this hair. There's that section. Here's my guide. Do you see it right there inside where my knuckle is? Right here? That's my guide, and I'm tying it to this guide up here. Okay? Now, when I comb this over, no hair is sticking up. This hair is traveling over there nice and even. It's laying nice and smooth. Did it look like I changed anything? But I cut a lot off, right? But nothing's changed. It's still flat. It's still laying on the side. So here was the area he hated the most. One, it was frizzy and it was puffy. Why do you think it was frizzy and puffy? Because of the chemical in his hair, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to travel all of this hair right here first back to the apex. Anything sticking out, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Traveling it, over directing it back to the apex. Look at all that hair right there. Do you see it? My guide's right behind it. See the guide? So all I'm going to do is cut that off. Bring this all the way back. Cut that off. Bring this all the way back. All his hair from the front. Find his guide. A little excess right there. A little excess right here. All the way back, over directing it. There's my guide on the end. See it? And my guide up top. This little bit right here is getting cut off. I didn't do anything drastic. Nothing drastic. I created the shape, found my guide, and made it work. Now that I have the shape and I got my guide, voila, voila. Let's now finish the side of this cut, do some interior cut, and you guys can go to lunch. So what I'm looking at here is this little bit of weight right here. You see that? So one of the ways to do that, my guide's at the bottom. Do y'all see that? The shape of this cut is like this. So I'm going to pull my fingers out in the shape of that cut. There's the weight going straight up. Next section. Guide is at the bottom. Clean that off. Over direct that little bit. And the reason I'm over directing this a little bit is because I'm past that apex. I'm past this part. Once I get to here, what happens right here in the head? What did we talk about? It starts to transition backwards. So from here, I'm bringing everything to this guide. Everything's coming back to here. So pull this back. There's that little piece of hair right there that needs cut off. Next section. Guide at the bottom. That little bit's cut off. This whole entire section now is coming over, and that looks good. It's already cut. One tiny little hair. So now we had this shape, and we didn't take much off. It appeared that we did. So the other thing is, see how he's got that color? That color is what's going to change the way this hair looks. Now look at this in the back. If he doesn't do his hair, look what we have. But now you see the shape of the cut. Do you see that? That's because this hair is traveling further. So you can see that the shape of this cut is now cut much better. It's the same thing on this side. If I pull this all down, you'll see the shape of this cut coming around. These blonde hairs are just the hair color he had in there. So how I'm going to remove some of this hair color so that it blends in a little bit is I'm going to do a little bit of point cutting. I'm going to lift this up right here where that color is. My shape is good, so I don't need to worry about that. But that color is not good. So I'm going to go ahead in here Just get some of that out the way. Next section. Shape is good. Go right in. Notch some of this out. And now I have a much better blend with that blonde. Did y'all peep that? I didn't do a whole lot. This section right here, I'm gonna lift this up. Lift this up. I'm gonna comb this over a little bit better. I still see a little bit more there. There's that length right there. Cut that off. A little bit of point cutting in there. Much better. Now you have a much better blend. There's a little bit of weight right here. I'm gonna do the same thing. Shear over comb. Just getting those little hairs up. Maintaining the shape of the cut. Lift this up. Have a much better transition going through there. There we go. So he already mentioned earlier he's okay with a little bit of product. But because we trimmed this, he may not have a lot of weight up front or anything that's going to get that hair to lift up. He didn't like the fuzziness or the poofiness, but we still want a little bit of lift. So I'm going to go about 3 fingers away from his hairline, and I'm going to move this down. And then right back here, right in this section, I'm going to do a little bit of interior cutting. So this is out the way. I need you to see what I'm doing. I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to go ahead in here. You can't see. I'm going to lift this up. And then right in here, I'm just going to carve some of this out. Lift this up. Carve some of that out. What I'm doing is I'm putting my shear in the hair. Once I grab the hair, then I start sliding out. Okay? So guess what? It's not going to be even under there. I'm going to stay away from this side because I need this to travel, but I want this to lift a little bit. Move some of this hair down, go into my next section, carve a little bit out, a little bit out, a little bit out. That's interior cutting. What that's going to help me to do is, watch this. You saw his hair was flattening all the time, right? With no product in his hair, see his hair wants to fall? It's not standing up? Watch this. Now his hair wants to stand up. There's no product in his hair standing up. But you all witnessed when I was doing it, it kept falling down. Because those little hairs that I just put in there are holding the longer hairs up. And I didn't do a lot. This is tailored. If I take a thinning shear and I go in there and hack, I might hack too much off stuff I don't want cut. I'm going in and picking where I want it. You notice when I did it back here, nothing was happening. This kept falling. So then I said, watch this. I went to a different area that I didn't cut, just carved a couple pieces out, and now look, his hair's standing up. We want this to fall because naturally he wears his hair that way. But we still need a little bit of lift. If I got a little bit of lift, then I don't need a lot of product. And what did he say earlier? Just a little bit. He's okay with a little bit of product. All right? Any questions about what we did? You notice his hair stayed wet for the most part. Your hair is still wet. Why do you think his hair stayed wet for the most part? Because I got lotion in it. You can feel it. Come feel that. You've been my assistant all day because you just buy the stuff. Come feel it though. You'll feel that it's a little bit of something on there. Now, how do you like a shine, natural shine, or like a more of a dry?
Just like a natural.
Okay, natural. All right, cool. This one. Okay. This has high shine. This has a lower shine. Okay, perfect. I'm not gonna put too much. I don't need a whole lot. I don't need a whole lot. Very, very light. I put it all in my hands first, right? And then I shoe shine it. I shoe shine it because I want the product to be on the tips of his hair first. I don't want to smash it because then what happens is you start putting clumps of product in their hair. So now that I have it on the ends of his hair, now I can go in and start manipulating it and putting it in his hair. What's that? It has a light shine to it, but it's going to kind of hold it a little bit in place just for the style, nothing crazy. But look at how his hair is standing up, right? And I don't have a whole lot of product in there. See how this side is longer, this side is shorter? That's the shape of this cut. Many of you will be like, oh my God, this is uneven. Nah, this is for this look. That's what it's supposed to be. All right? Now I can go ahead and comb his hair in place. Combing it forward to the side. Make sure I give him his little natural little part, right? The one he wears. Good, move forward. And then a little lift to the side. If I wanted it tighter, I use the more tension side. I can also put a lot more product, but we said light product, right? Now he's got his look to the side. Nick, how's that look for you?
Mm-hmm.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. I'll make sure you can see it, that's all. So if I want more lift to this, then I would add just a little bit more product over here because I don't want to create too much lift. Remember, he don't like it puffy, but he does like it going to the side and have a little bit of shape. So there's the idea with that. I'm gonna go ahead and work on his beard. If y'all wanna stay for the beard, y'all guys are free to go to lunch. And when we come back, we're gonna knock his out, all right? So I'll just keep going. E, you can stop it and then just press record again so it's 2 videos.